Where high-stakes competition, insane rewards, and heart-tugging moments are mentioned, MrBeast's Beast Games delivers on all fronts. With a prize of $5 million up for grabs, 1,000 contestants enter a world of very intense challenges.
My whole team. Who is going to drop?
I'm in a literal insane asylum.
But what ultimately makes this series unforgettable are those emotional moments that unfold along the journey. From teary goodbyes to triumphant wins, Beast Games is a roller coaster of human resilience, connection, and passion. But let this be a warning. These are not ordinary games. The stakes are high, and with every challenge come not only victories to celebrate, but also sacrifices that will hit you right in the feels. Let's dive into the most emotional moments from Beast Games and uncover the stories behind the spectacle. The very first self-sacrifice. The first challenge in Beast Games brought in the very first jaw-dropping moment of self-sacrifice. In this round, 80 contestants stood in a single row, but only 79 could move further. For the row to be saved, one had to step out and eliminate himself. No tricks, no loopholes, just pure selflessness. With tensions running high, one woman did not hold back, but rather came forward to give her life and showed how much she really cared for the people around her. Pretty much felt like a mic drop moment in a game show, which made people cry. But it wasn't just her row. Other rows, too, were trying to figure out who would take one for the team. Players kept stepping forward, each more intense than the last in sacrifice. The stakes hung thick in the air, and by the time that clock ran out of time, the field was literally in a pool of mixed emotions, torn to pieces and weeping because they couldn't advance. And the ones that went willingly? They shared tearful goodbyes with friends they had made. That was how Beast Games got underway, and a reminder that this isn't all about winning, the moments that matter. And that was just the beginning. If this was how Beast Games kicked off, you know the next round is only going to crank up the drama and the emotions. Stick around, because what comes next will hit even harder. Tower Game. The second challenge in the Beast Games was the Tower Game. Contestants were given differently shaped boxes, and they were asked to use them to build a solid tower in 10 minutes. The catch: the first 100 players whose tower fell would be eliminated. Every wobble, every slip signaled an end to their journey. And then, right on cue with the start of the timer, bedlam erupted. Players stacked with precision. Players more or less just tossed them together and hoped and prayed. Towers seesawed perilously, and the tension in the air was practically unbearable. In the end, it was the survivors against the non-survivors. The winning players breathed out and let out an audible sigh of relief. Their wobbly towers had stayed up long enough to keep them in the running. For the 100 whose towers fell, it was heart-wrenching. Many were overtaken with pressure and despair and dissolved into a crying fit. Well, if that is intense, you could bet that the next round would make it even tighter. So keep watching, because the most interesting surprises are still on their way. The bribe. The next plot twist in Beast Games came as a bribe. Contestants, now in rows and grouped into teams, were given an agonizing decision. Take a cash bribe and be out of the game. Sounds tempting, right? But here's the catch. The player who takes the money doesn't just eliminate themselves. They take their entire row out of competition. The moment the rules were stated, betrayals started to show up. Rows huddled together, reassuring one another with promises like, "We've got this. Nobody's taking the money." But as the amount of the bribe climbed higher and higher, tensions skyrocketed. The temptation was written across every player's face, and the question loomed large: who will crack first? And crack they did. The betrayal started to spike as some players snatched the money and thus decided upon the elimination of their teammates. The reactions? Pure chaos. Screams of disbelief, frustrated tears, and stunned silence filled the room when the rows realized their fate was sealed by one person's choice. But if you thought the betrayals here were wild, just wait. Things are about to get even messier, because now the players are going to the city. Hope you can catch. The second challenge whisks the players away to two towering structures, and the rules are simply to catch a ball hurled from the roof. Drop it, let it touch the ground, and you're out. Easy enough, until you add the heavy weights of competition and elimination. As the game progresses, it reaches a point where one can hardly bear the tension. One team apparently clinches the game as the opposing side drops their ball in the fourth round. Cheers go up, and the winning team cries tears of joy, embracing in relief. On the flip side, the losing team is devastated. Their disappointment disappointment written all over their faces. But then the kicker. The judges review it and realize that the winning team's ball had hit the ground in the first round. Celebration comes to a grinding halt. Immediately, the emotions were flipped. The losing team is announced as the actual winner. Tears of sadness now turned into tears of joy, while the other team stood in complete shock. Their celebration turned to complete silence as they were in awe of the shocking turn of events. What a roller coaster of emotions, just proving again in Beast Games. Nothing is for sure, and every moment counts. This one definitely pulled at the heartstrings, but trust me, the next challenge takes it to a whole new level. Get ready for tears because we're diving back into self-sacrifice, but this time, it's a whole different kind of gut-wrenching. Less is more. This next challenge brings them to the second floor of the tower, and things start to get psychological. The players are divided into two teams, and the challenge is simple. Try to get as many people to leave the game of their own free will. Here's the kicker. They can't see the opposing team, so they don't actually know how many they need to persuade to win. Each team is connected via phone with their respective tower. Through this, they're able to hear the number of players they've convinced to leave. It's starting to get serious as those numbers come in. One team convinces 4 players to leave, while the opposing team can only persuade 3. Emotions run high as the results flash on the screen. The panel of 4 is delighted, relieved, and happy that they scraped through elimination. However, the emotional baggage is not only with the losing team. Those who sacrificed themselves for their team shared an emotional goodbye. Heartbreak is palpable with the team that could convince just 3. They were just one person away from safety, and the crushing realization was written all over their faces. It was a brutally close call, packed with tearful goodbyes and a humble note of how unpredictably Beast Games could get. But then there is more, because the next one will be even more intense. Get ready to throw down. Now it was time for the next challenge, and this time, the players were taken to the 3rd floor of the tower, where things got real. Down on the ground sat a huge cup. The task was straightforward. Throw your ball and score a point. The team with the most points moves on, but the team with the least? Adios. Easy, right? Not quite. Then came the twist, a golden cup. Whoever lands his ball in that gold cup walks away with $250,000. The catch, he would go alone and leave the game and his team behind. Just like that, this isn't about teamwork anymore. This is about temptation. Oh boy, did the chaos start flying. Literally. People hesitated, debated, and then just went for it. Balls were flying toward the big cup, the golden cup, and at times just into the ground in full panic mode. Accusations of betrayal flew around, and friendships got a little shaky. When the dust finally settled, one team emerged atop, moving on to the next round with a higher score, while their losing opponents talked and teared up as they said their goodbyes. But the real heartbreaking moment, though, was that even the winning team got emotional and shared a very rare moment of compassion for their defeated rivals. Messy, intense, just peak Beast Game. You know the next round is only going to ratchet up the drama even further. Use your brain. They were then taken back downstairs, divided into 2 towers for the next challenge, which was all about brains and strategy. Players were standing on tiles, but the catch was that each of the players' tiles was differently shaped. Contestants who were standing on matching tiles from opposite towers would go head-to-head in a trivia battle. The questions started to fly, and the tension was palpable. With every correct answer came what felt like a lifeline to a contestant, and with every wrong answer, those contestants were one step closer to elimination. As the rounds went on, the pressure kept rising until it all came down to the final question. Finally, one team managed to pip the others at the post by a whisker. The reactions were raw. The losing team was devastated, some in tears as they realized their journey had come to an end. The heartbreak was palpable as they reflected on how hard they'd fought to get this far, only to be outwitted in the final moments. Meanwhile, the winning team celebrated, but even their joy was bittersweet as they sympathized with the emotional weight of their opponent's loss. It was a game of brains, but it hit everyone right in the heart. But you think the tears end here? Well, no, because there is more at stake now. What you will see next might even make you cry a little. Another bribe. The last game in the episode was fully packed with tension. The players who remained were divided into 4 teams, and each team had to pick a captain. But as expected from Beast Games, the challenge was not that straightforward. He let everyone know that the captains were going to be bribed, take the money, and abandon the team. Cruel? Most definitely. But again, that's the game. With much reluctance, each team chose a captain and hoped he did not turn against them. But little did they know there was even more at stake than what they already were dealing with. If a captain chose the money, only his team would get eliminated, while the captain would be pocketing the cash and continuing playing. And besides, the bribe wasn't static. It counted upwards, fully increasing until just before the captain was about to push the button. Should they fail to take make the money on time, they'd go back to their team with nothing. What started as a trust game really fell apart. First, captains reassure teams and pledge allegiance, but as the amount of the bribe rises, so does the seed of doubt. Eyes dart furtively between teammates and the rising counter. Captains hesitate, caught between teams and an increasing temptation. It was unbearable to bear. Teams plead with captains, some in tears. Please don't take the money. Raw, emotional, and heartbreaking to see trust persuade and decisions hang in the balance. And so this episode drew to a close. Some alliances were destroyed, some tears were cried, and really only one thing made perfect sense. Beast Games is not about knowing how to survive, but about how far one is willing to go for the people who count on you. And for some, that line got blurry fast. And there you have it, some of the most emotional moments from Beast Games so far. From heartbreaking sacrifices to shocking betrayals, this show proves that it's more than just a game. What was your favorite emotional moment? Let us know in the comments and make sure to stay tuned.